Welcome to the Interview Podcast, the voice of InterCT. InterCT's aim is to help young athletes become excellent individuals through the vehicle of soccer. Love the game, love to learn, and love to compete at InterCT.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Interview Podcast. I am Aaron Mazzola. I am joined by Tom Robinson. How you doing today, Tom?
Good, buddy. Can't believe we're so far into the season already and keep having weekends where it rains on us. So, other than that, I'm doing good, man.
I know. Is it not going to rain a Saturday this week or this year?
No, that's it. It's crazy. I spend more time looking at the weather for the weekends than I do for actually trying to figure out like what's going on inside the club or what's going on in my own personal life. It's raining Saturday.
Yeah, I downloaded a couple satellite apps so I can stay up to date on that. But
I'm telling you, that's the career I'm sending my son into. It's the only one you can be wrong and still get paid a lot of money for. So I'm telling you, he's future in weather if he's not the next Lionel Messi. So
but we have in this upcoming week, we have a fairly eventful weekend at All Saints. We have a bunch of games at All Saints. Finally, we're at home now because we had scheduled the games around the predicted turf finishing date, and we thought it was going to be finished a lot later than it actually was. So now we have the last 4 weekends basically all at home, right? There's some teams that are away, but
yeah. So some of the futures and the championship EDP teams that we spoke about in last week's episode, they're still a little bit more all over the place, but a lot of our other teams play in club v club leagues where you have to play back to back. So yeah, I was looking at the schedule. 77 field on Saturday, 7 games back to back between me and Amade, 9v9 between you and Sean, 4 games back to back, and then Quinny. I don't know how it ended up this way, but he has 7 games all at All Saints. 3 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, but all back to back. So again, that's one of the reasons why we like this format, because obviously if Quinny's 4 teams were all playing, some in Brooklyn like he had to do last year, some in like Hartford, and then some in All Saints, makes it physically impossible for Anthony to get at all those things. So yeah, I hope there's a few beers in my future from you, because you have 4 games back to back All Saints on Saturday, and then Quinny 7 games back to back. So whoever does that scheduling needs a little bit of praise, I believe.
Well, first, Quinny, if anybody's listening to this, on Saturday, Quinny might need a coffee throughout the day.
Yes.
But yes, Tom, you will get those beers.
Yes, I'll second that. I'm not a hot drink type of person, but Colin came to me on Saturday at around about 11 when I was halfway through my second game, just stood in the rain, freezing cold, wet through. And he was like, gonna go to Dunkin' Donuts. And I was like, oh, great, I'll have one.
I asked you if you
but I knew you had to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but I would have gotten you something. I asked you several times.
Yeah, and I'd also asked one of the parents on my first team got me a cup of tea. I had to have a strict conversation. I was like, if you're getting me a cup of tea, don't do Starbucks, because Starbucks English tea it's just like putting a load of twigs in a cup of hot water. So it's not great. So I'm a strict Dunkin' Donuts guy. Which is also a little bit cheaper from what Coach Colin told me. I don't have this coffee addiction like some of our other members of staff do. So
gotta have it. But I know we have to get into our winter programs. But I have a question. Now you're representing all of Britain. Why do British people hate Lipton tea?
We just got so many better options in England. A good tea guy to talk to, Joel. We had this conversation a lot.
Joel absolutely hates Lipton tea. Like he looks at me in disgust whenever.
Yeah, I'm a Yorkshire Gold guy, and there's different types of Yorkshire tea. I'm a Yorkshire Gold type of guy. PG Tips, also another one. But I actually have my parents bring my tea bags over when they come, because otherwise I go to the English shop in Westport or up in Danbury, and no word of a lie, I'm spending like $50 on tea bags. That's insane. So yeah, no, I'm a Yorkshire Gold, which is a little bit of a rivalry because I'm from Lancashire. Yorkshire's the other side of the Pennines, so it's a little bit of a rivalry. But yeah, no, it's so much better, man. So much better.
Let's hope this podcast doesn't make it overseas. You might have a war on your hands.
Mum and Dad will be getting stuck at customs because they're trying to smuggle tea to the US.
There you go. Anyway, I know that there's been a lot of parents and people asking and talking about the winter schedule that we have here, and Inter as a club, we try to train all year round. But now that we have Tom Robinson on the master of scheduling, he's gonna enlighten us with some of the winter programs that we do have running, and how often some of the teams will train.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and condense it as much as possible because we have a lot running and don't want to have this podcast be purely Norwalk based. So I'm not going to spend too much time going into it. One big change that we've made this year is we have usually our groundskeeper Yuri closes the grass fields the week before Thanksgiving, so we can't do anything on there in previous years. And for some of you remember, we actually did like some events in the parking lot once or twice down at All Saints when we couldn't use the grass or we couldn't use other facilities. Now, obviously, with the turf, we can use it more. Priority in the winter always goes to our high school teams because they finish their high school season and then come back up and they kind of do what would be like our version of the spring season. They do that throughout the fall season, throughout the winter. So they're like 2 or 3 days a week all the way through. And then we just try and keep the younger guys ticking over. So I set the coaches a challenge to have the whole schedule online by the end of the week. So probably when you'll listen to this on Friday, it should hopefully be there. If not, it'll be definitely up by Sunday. So if you do have any questions regarding your scheduling, speak to your coaches. But for the younger guys, especially in Norwalk, what we've tried to do is just put in a street soccer event. Street soccer is basically what I used to do as a kid. I would just knock on the doors of the kids in my estate and we just play on the street as much as possible. Obviously, we're not going to play on West Rocks Road. We're going to play on the turf field, and it's just we're going to bring in age groups together. So we've done it in the past. It was like, okay, I'll bring in my 2015 SL team, and then 4 kids show up. And it's like, can't really achieve what we want to achieve because we don't want them just standing still. We want them playing and being competitive. So right. What we've done is we put it across the whole age group. So it'll be the 2014s, 2015s together, 2013s, 2012s, and then the 2011s. Sorry, 2011, 2010s would come in as well on a different day. And then all the girls are going to come in on Wednesday. And it's going to be a mixture of coaches. All the full-time coaches will be there, and we're just going to set up fields. If we have enough one day that we only have, enough to play 177 field, we'll just set a 177 field. If we have another day and we've got 60 kids, like a full age group, because we have some big age groups there, then we'll set up some smaller fields and let them play. And then what happens, we are going to kind of do that from 4:30 till 5:30, 5:45. And then our high school teams rock up and they go from like 6 till 9 most of the time. So that's kind of what's going to happen between Thanksgiving and New Year. Throughout that time process as well, we will run supplemental tryouts for all of our locations. Don't be worried if you see that we're running supplemental tryouts and think my team's already full. We were not adding extra players. We run the supplemental tryouts, one, to fill open roster spots if we have them. Speaking from a boys' point of view, we don't have many to fill. We have 1 or 2 on certain teams, but the girls do. The girls have teams to fill. Union have teams to fill. Our high school teams have teams to fill. So we just run it as a club round event and have it. And then if there are people who are looking for training throughout the winter, we do want them to try out so that we're not putting them with our kids for the winter and then they're lowering the standard of the practice. That's kind of what we did last year with the 2014s, how we managed to grow it into having 3 teams this season because we had a lot of kids involved over the winter. They had such a great time. They carried on with the spring. And then the next minute they're on our teams for the following year. So that's why we do the supplemental tryouts. 1, to fill spots if we have them, but 2, to make sure the kids that we're inviting to practice with us during the winter have a good opportunity to, 1, learn from their point of view, but also don't lower the standard of the group and then make it difficult for us to coach the kids who are actually on the team. And then in that window between kind of the Thanksgiving and New Year, you'll see a high school league. We have a high school boys league, a high school girls league, and that's just 5 weeks come in and play. Coach Colin and Coach Ashley will be promoting that. Amade will be running his extra time clinics. We spoke about last week that they run in 6 weeks blocks. So there's one that'll kind of take us from now until Thanksgiving, and then another block that'll take us from Thanksgiving to the new year. And then the return of one of my favorites, the elite group training program. Try to do it a little bit different this year. In previous years, we'd say, hey, Aaron, go get yourself, 8 kids or whatever, and you just do 4 sessions back to back. What we want to do now is allow players to get different voices, different information, different coaching styles. We talked about it a few weeks ago, right? We all have different styles. Aaron's is different to mine. Mine's different to Leon's. So we do want these kids to be approachable, but also adaptable to new coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I had it with my 2010s when I handed them off, it was like the end of the world. And now they've gone into Anthony. They love Anthony. It's like I never existed. And that's what we want it to be like. Same with my 2014s I had last year. Handed them off to Amade. They're having a great time. We're going to have to do the same thing with you, Aaron, and your 2013s sometime soon to make sure they get those additional voices that they have. So we have that one. The big one with that one is we can only take 4 kids per session. So they will sell out. And then that pretty much gets us to the new year. Once we rock into the new year, we get our weekly practices. So our statement that we offered when we sent the offer letter to players to join us was you'll get 1 indoor session. So you'll get your 1 indoor session at Northeast Athletic Centre. And then on the weekend, the boys will be at Tomlinson in Fairfield like we was last year. And the girls will be at All Saints on a Sunday. The reason why we've done that is because we'll have additional winter leagues running. So the boys' winter league will run Sunday. That's why they're practicing Saturday. The girls' winter league will run Saturday. That's why they're practicing Sunday. So we'll have that. And then the last year we did 11v11 pre-high school boys on a Wednesday evening. We're going to do that the same as well because that ran really well. And again, that 2010, 2011 age group's pretty popular. And we'll kind of go from there. So that's pretty much it for kind of the new year. Once we get into March, we kind of do less outdoor stuff because we lose Tomlinson booking and All Saints will start hosting home games. So then what's happening now is we'll start having more teams practice indoors, or we'll start pulling some teams and put them outdoors at All Saints during the week because March typically it isn't too bad for weather. Usually in the past, the bad weather's usually early January, early February, and then usually we start to turn through. So that's pretty much your normal season for there. We'll have the additional programs running like always, and we'll have those sessions for the teams. One thing that we do want to talk about, and I can get Aaron's input on this as well, is for us, the winter is part of the season, right? It's not like we finish Thanksgiving and then we see everyone else around Easter. Those kids that practice all the way through are usually the kids that end up benefiting come the spring, right, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it sounds obvious when you're saying it, but the kids who are touching the ball more, they're going to get better. But the reality is, if you take a break off of the winter, you're going to be a little bit behind the players that continue all the way through. It's the same it's the same thing with training 3 times a week and then game on the weekends. If players are training 5 days a week and playing on the weekends, they're going to get better than players that are training 3 days a week, So ultimately we want everybody to play during the winter because it benefits them. And it is, as coaches, we look at it as part of the season. So we definitely recommend being to as many as you can possibly be at. But also the winter leagues that we do have, they're really fun. Everybody that goes there, it's very competitive. It's a good time and they're touching the ball. So at the end of it, players will develop and they will progress.
Yeah, I think it's great. Like we said, we want these kids to play as much as possible. I still don't fully agree with the saying, but I do have these conversations with parents quite a lot where it's like, yeah, no, my son play like soccer's a fall sport. Like where I'm from, soccer's the sport. There's no different season, and that's the way we approach it as a club. Our season is fall, winter, spring. If you are willing to take time off, that's why we don't run summer leagues, because we do want our kids to have a life and go on vacation. That's not saying we don't want you guys to go away and listen, if someone offered me and Aaron the opportunity to go to a Vermont house and go skiing all weekend, then we'd happily take it. But that's not the case for our coaches. We will be at these sessions. We will be busy. We will be coaching. And the kids that are around the most, usually hit the ground running in the spring. And that's when we start reevaluating kids for the winter, for this next season, right? Our tryouts will typically be in April or May. And, if we've not seen your kid all the winter and then they take those first few weeks to get used to it, by the time we get into the tryout process, they're not hitting the full performance levels, but the other guys are, because they've, like Aaron said, they've touched the ball all the way through. So, definitely take your vacations where you want, but we do really want our players to be at the sessions as much as possible. We have lots of opportunities to kind of aid development with the different programs, extra time, small group clinics, the winter leagues. And then, we just keep in mind that most of them are limited spots. So our winter league on the boys' side is set at 40 players, 4 teams of 10. On the girls' side, it's set at 20, 4 teams of 5. So it's just, we can't go bigger than that. Obviously, so once those spots are sold out, and the winter league, since we started running it, since we became into Connecticut, has always sold out. So if it is something that you are looking to do, make sure you get in on it. Extra time sells out during the winter, and sort of these elite group training sessions.
Yeah, and now we have the opportunity to do it at All Saints, right?
Yeah, that's the good thing about that facility, and we can use it. Like we said, we do give priority to the high school teams, but we will use that more than ever, and just getting there. And also, just if you guys start to see the work that's gone on in the background regarding All Saints in general, right? You can start seeing the grass is growing that we've put down. We have that new 7v7 field that we're going to put some extra goals on it. I spoke to Leon this morning. He's just confirmed that we bought some extra goals. We didn't actually realize how many fields we had, and we had 3 9v9 game schedules next week, and we realized we only had 4 goals where we needed 6. So, credit to Leon and Marty. We've just put in for 2 sets of brand new goals. And for anyone who's ever bought youth soccer goals, they are not cheap. So, they're showing that investment into the club. And like I said, it's an exciting time, just on the field, off the field, just everything into Connecticut at the moment.
Yeah, it's great. And, we always want to promote where I think I can tell you right now, I'm proud of where we've come, even in the 3 years that I've been here. We've just grown so much, and we've all progressed, and, coaches leave and coaches come, and players leave and players go. But, ultimately, I think that we've grown so much, and I think we're doing a fairly good job, if you're asking me.
No, I agree. Like I said, I started when we was Everton America, and I thought we had official ties to Everton in the Premier League. I would say our club's a lot stronger every aspect.
Yeah.
Now, facilities, league levels, competitions, pathways, coaching. I was joking with Leon. We were trying to work it out in the 8 years of working together. In the Everton America time, we had 50 different coaches that we worked together with.
Is that what it was? 50?
50. I think Leon's is more, because Leon was there about 3 or 4 years before I started. And
Wow.
then now we're into, other than we've not really had any coaches just not want to come back. Most of them have just been personal. Like Jack, he wanted to stay, personal reason, wanted to leave, had to go back to England. Joel just made sense to be in Union because he lives in Shelton, and instead of traveling down to Norwalk. So, they show us a good sign that our coaches, and we're starting to get extra coaches wanting to join in. So some of the coaches that we've had reach out about, taking teams, and some of the resumes that we're reading, myself, Leon and Marty, is again, credit to what we're achieving here, credit to the staff that we have. And then going full circle back to the use of the turf, we are actually going to run an election day camp, 9 till 12, just for those kids that don't have school that day, because most schools are used as a voting station. So, we have gone in the elite group training format. For me, that I want to run programs that are going to make kids better, and I truly believe in that format. If we threw together let's just call it a Premier camp, and we just brought everyone down, it just ends up being like those Mickey Mouse summer camp soccer programs that don't really develop kids. They just throw something on, ends up being babysitting. So what we've done with the election day camp is there's going to be 6 groups, 2 7v7 groups, 1 boys, 1 girls, 2 9v9 groups, boys and girls, 2 11v11 groups, boys and girls, and there's only 8 spots available per group.
So
And
small
once
group.
those 8 spots are gone, bang again. And again, that's we're capping what profit we could make as an organization, but we're doing that because we want to make these kids better. If you're willing to get your kid out of bed and with us on the field where he doesn't have to be there at that time, and we want to make them better. And we've seen in those, elite group training programs that we've run over the summer, it definitely helps. So we have had a few people register for that already. It's on our winter programs page, and I will start promoting that a little bit more next week so we can try and get into kids on it first before I start then putting it on social media. So what I'll probably do is I'll give the families maybe 48 hours to sign up for it. And then after that, we'll start pushing it to all our database, because our database now is much bigger than it was when we started. We've got over like 5,000 people in our database. So that whole email will go to all those people in that. So yeah, if you're interested in coming joining us on the 7th, then we'd love to have you come and get some more touches. And again, that's 9 till 12 down at All Saints on the turf.
Yeah, great. And like we said before, the players that are training more, they're ultimately going to be better. They're going to progress a little bit faster, or even at the end of the winter, you see the difference. You definitely see the difference. And even when we're going into the fall season, the players that haven't played all summer, coaches can definitely tell. So, we're not saying that that's going to happen to your son or daughter, but if they play more, they will, get the benefits of that.
Oh,
So
apologies. That was someone's texting me. I forgot to put my computer on do not disturb. I did my phone, didn't do my computer. Apologies for that. I feel like that should be a fine, Aaron. I feel like I should owe you a drink for my phone.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it. You get fined.
All right, there you go.
But anyway, we wanted to discuss the winter programs because it's we know parents deal with different schedules and different sports and going away. So all of us coaches will have the schedule on Sports Engine by the end of the week, and we also wanted to discuss this on the podcast. But for next summer, we have a special guest, Marty Walker, that's going to come on in a little bit. We actually recorded Marty's piece last night, Tuesday night. But we basically talk about the international tours that Inter runs, and what age groups go, when they are, and how they work. So yeah, thanks, Tom, for this part, and let's clip Marty in here, and we appreciate everybody listening. Hello, everybody. We are back now. We are joined by Marty Walker. How you doing today, Marty?
I'm good, gents. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, and we promised everybody that we were going to have you on this week, so here you are.
Elusive Marty Walker.
A little bit about.
He's breaking our recording schedule, but we do that for the big man to the boss to get him involved. So.
Because he's a hot commodity.
Yeah, it's a privilege to do this at like 8:45 at night. Yeah, thanks.
This is the things we do for you, Marty.
Thank you.
But a little bit about Marty. He is co-owner and co-president of InterCT with Leon. Leon, or Marty, is based more in Milford. But I'll let him do his own introduction. So Marty, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for and with Inter.
Yeah, certainly. 2015, I became the high school director for the boys. Was involved with the club then for several years until 2019 when that was formerly Everton America. Leon and I took over and rebranded as Inter, and stayed on primarily in the high school division, and helped then grow our presence in the state and the Milford, where Leon and I live. Colin Sprague took over as the high school director for operations, but I typically coach the high school boys within the club.
And if I'm correct, you also work at Iona.
Yeah, I do. I coach college soccer. I have done for 12 years currently at Iona. After a whirlwind tour between Connecticut and New York colleges. Been here for 4 years. Complements my schedule with Inter. Yeah, not the most successful year this year. We've had better years in the past, but I'm but yeah, it's an enjoyable side gig.
Good. And a little bit about your playing experience. I heard that you played in Norway, but your Norwegian is not the best
Yeah,
anymore.
once upon a time. Very fortunate. Started late as a soccer player. Didn't start soccer till 15.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I played Gaelic football, which involves using your hands and stuff. It's an Irish sport, but I was drafted into a pro club's third team. With that, so you had the first team, you had the reserves, you had the U18, 17, 16s, all the good teams, and then the third team was kind of like the pub team. So I
Okay.
was a goalkeeper drafted in to play for the pub team, and I was young. All the guys I was playing with were my age now, late 30s, early 40s, but I did well and was spotted by the goalkeeping coach, and he brought me into the U16s and 18s and reserves, and was fortunate to make my debut in the first team about a year and a half later.
Wow.
Yeah, then I played for Derry. That was Institute Football Club. Then I played for Derry City in Ireland. Then I went to England to start my undergrad degree, where I played for Blythe Spartans, which is like the Unibond division where the Wrexhams of the world used to play. I did college soccer for a couple of years at Mercer University. Completed my undergrad degree back home, but played in Norway. You're right, which is probably the highest standard that I played at. It was very competitive. Just met a couple of Norwegian guys playing college soccer. They says, if you ever want to come play soccer in Norway, we'll help you out. They did. So I went, played. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So you've bounced around. You've been, all over the world and kind of found yourself wound up in Milford and with Inter. So
Yes, sir. Yeah. So it's been a good journey. And long may it continue.
yeah, there's many more to come. So we brought you on, Marty, because you have you run a very interesting and a great experience during the summer. You have a couple different tours, a couple different programs that you do run. Um, we're talking about here the summer international trip tours.
Yeah.
We have a couple different places that we're looking to go to, and hopefully we get the registration for this summer.
Yeah.
And we have done that. How long have you been doing these tours for?
Since 2015, whenever I first came in as the high school director at Everton America, Russell Sterling was the guy who held the position before I did, and he was actually taking teams to the Foyle Cup, which we continue to go to this day. He was from not very far where I'm from in Ireland, so it was easy for him to take teams home every summer and
Right.
experience, share his home with our players, and it was an easy tradition for me to continue. And barring COVID years when we couldn't travel, we've done the Foyle Cup every year, which allows me to take the U15s and U16s to experience like my experience in my hometown and my culture and the soccer in Ireland and the level of play, which is a little and style of play, which is a little bit different from here, So,
Right.
The Foyle Cup's been in existence prior to me even being at the club. It's just an easy tradition to continue.
Right. Yeah. And you have that connection there, so that's great. You get to go home for a little bit,
Yeah,
and other players get to experience some Irish football, which is amazing.
that's it.
So along with the Foyle Cup, what else do we have running this summer?
So over the years, people have always asked about international tours, and I place a lot of value on travel, as you can probably imagine, having been around the world myself and played here, there, and everywhere, and taken all those experiences and using them to my benefit today. Over the years, we've had the Foyle Cup run continuously, as I've mentioned. Myself and Leon organised a trip to the 2019, was it, Women's European Championships, where we took a group of players over to see England, to see some of the real high quality women's soccer games. And then just last year, after years of planning, we ended up going to Malawi with our juniors and our seniors, which was a big trip to organize, a lot of kind of hurdles to jump over, a lot of apprehension to bypass. But what we've found is there's a real appetite for travel and a real appetite to experience the game in the world and kind of get out there and see things. So we've tried successfully and unsuccessfully, and it's probably a reflection of our investment in each trip. They offer a experience for players across the board for our 7v7 teams, for our 9v9 teams, and for our 11v11 teams. So whilst we've had the successful England trip for the Euros, we've had the successful Malawi trip and the Foil Cup trip to Ireland, we've used that as a catalyst to add more trips. Like last year, we tried to go to Spain for the pre-high school 11v11 teams, and that trip's available again this year. We have an England trip on the calendar. We have the Foil Cup trip again on the calendar, and we're going to go back to Malawi. And on top of that, we have and those are all fantastic trips. And next year will be a little bit special, and it's a tradition we're going to start and try to continue. We've been invited to compete in the Super Cup, which is an Irish tournament as well. Specifically for our 2008 boys and our 2010 girls.
And those two age groups were invited?
Yeah, there was openings, and I have connections with that tournament, and it's a significant tournament that used to be called the Milk Cup. And it's very, very prestigious, one of the top tournaments in Europe. So it's like, tournament where Beckham kind of had his first tournament with Man United, with Wayne Rooney played there, Sergio Busquets played there.
This person I'm going to mention is not in the same caliber of those guys, but I listened to Peter Crouch's podcast, and he was actually talking about it the other week with, I think he had like Ledley King on, and they was like, unbelievable like experience, and like some of the people they played against, some of the clubs that they played against. So for us to even have a shot at getting kids that exposure to that standard is a very exciting opportunity.
It is, and it's something that we're in the door, and if we make it happen, it's going to be a very select group. It's open to inter players and non-inter players alike. So it's going to be an attractive thing from the outside for our club. But the reality is our players, when they go there, the players that are selected to go will be playing against Man United, Liverpool, Celtic, Valencia, Schalke, Bayern Munich, all those kind of top European teams.
Proper clubs.
They'll be playing against future pros, basically. On top of that, we'll be obviously offering them exposure at that level to scouts and people that are looking to recruit players, because it's a heavily recruited tournament from pro clubs all across the world. You'll have coaches come from every country. They watch players play. So it's a real strong foundation for a player and a couple of our players to kind of go there and express themselves as best as they can. Both the 2008 boys and the 2010 girls, with the growth of women's soccer in Europe, it's a real good platform for our girls to step into as well.
Definitely. So that Super Cup is you're trying to take two of the best possible teams that you can field, right?
Yeah, it's different to the Foil Cup. The Foil Cup exists as a real experience where it's open to everybody. If you register, you go, right. It's almost like the first 18 players who register, or the first 18 players that we select to go. And typically we take two age groups, and the Foil Cup is very competitive. You'll still play some of the professional academies, but maybe not like the top elite academies. You'll play like Altrincham, you'll play Hearts of Midlothian from Scotland, you'll play some Finnish teams from Finland, they're top division academies. But the expectation isn't to go there to the Foil Cup to win, excel, or get recruited by a professional team. It's to go and enjoy a soccer experience out in the world that makes you a better player, that increases your maturity level as a young boy or young girl, gives you that little bit of freedom from your parents for probably the first time in your life. Even the parents that do go there, they've talked about how much their kids have kind of grown because they've been left to their own devices. So the Super Cup is like, whilst the Super Cup is very elite, the Foil Cup exists to satisfy the needs of a player who just wants to go and become a better person and a better player. Our players that have gone to the Foil Cup in the past have come back significantly better. You play 6 games in 7 days over there, plus a couple of scrimmages, plus training sessions. And it's a real good tournament for just increasing players' ability and maturity because of the exposure to the world game,
Yeah, of course. Tom, if I'm not mistaken, you've been to a couple tours, right? You've been on a couple?
Yeah, I was actually just trying to work it out. I think the last one I went to was probably 2018, I think. Because I definitely didn't have Declan when I went there, and we definitely hadn't gone through the craziness of COVID and all that fun. So yeah, I'm trying to think, that was the last time I went there. And And just to touch on what Marty was saying, some of the kids that I took on that tour to England when I did mine, at least 3 or 4 of them now no longer with us because they've moved on to like high school and whatnot, because I took them when they was already pretty old now. But I do know 2 or 3 of them are now playing at very, very high level, kind of academy platforms in the US. Is one kid who used to be a goalkeeper for us. He moved down to the Carolinas and he's doing really well down there. Another boy who stays in the area and he's actually on the Red Bulls right now. So, it does drive that aspect of you. Like the motivation to be, coached by some of the coaches was really, really inspiring for some of those kids. And also even the kids that when I took my group, it was a mix. It wasn't just the best of the best. It was a mix, and some of those kids managed, when they came back for it, got from a second team to a top team, and now is doing well playing high school soccer within kind of the Fairfield County platform. So I enjoyed my platform when I went and did the tours. You get to see the touristy side of it. I actually enjoyed the tours of London. Crazy enough, living in England for 23 years, I think I lived there. I'd never done any of that. The only times I'd ever been to London was to get a visa to come to the US. So, it was fun to see that and go on the tours and do all that. And then also some of the behind the scene things that we did when we went around some of the stadiums, like I don't like Man United. I would say it's one of my least favorite teams, being from Manchester and being a Bolton fan, but being able to walk around Old Trafford and have that experience of standing in the tunnel, and then they even played the music and brought out extended the tunnel straight out to the field. So those parts of it are great. And then also just getting some of the coaching sessions. When we was down there, we did a coaching session with Charlton, who aren't great. Like if you're looking at the league table, like Charlton in the same division that my team and Leon's team are in League One, but you look at it and you'd be like, when you step back and watch the sessions, you can tell these are elite level coaches who are trying to develop and mold the next level of player. So overall, I do think they are very beneficial. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Marty was talking about it at the beginning, like with Russ. Like I used it as an opportunity to see family as well. We stopped in Cheshire for a few days, and my parents came down to see me. Some of my good friends from school came down to see me, and then actually my wife flew over and we spent a few days there, and then we flew back together. So it is a fun overall experience. I do believe it does make our kids better. I do want to kind of lay it out exactly step by step, and then also there's a lot of planning that makes sense in my mind and Marty's mind that we don't always share with the families. We just kind of expect them to know. So I do want to kind of touch on, Marty, how we tie this into the different stages at Inter Connecticut with love of the game, love to learn, love to develop, competition, and how you kind of structure all those together so each tour meets that same challenge.
Yeah, that's great point. We do, we want to align it with our core values and what we want to kind of get out of their players in terms of kind of their long-term soccer development. So, for the 2013s and 2012 groups, boys and girls, we want to send them to England next year, and that's a love the game type trip where they get to do what Tom was talking about: experience stadiums, get the buzz of listening to the music, where players would walk out, see the fields, do the tours, play scrimmages against local teams, to maybe do a practice session with one of the local professionals and local professional teams. I know Leon, whenever the girls went to the European Championships, had one of the Man United coaches take a session with him or two. So that love of the game trip is an English one, right? It's hopefully get a Premier League game. It's in August, so it's the time and coincides with the start of the Premier League pre-season, Championship pre-season. So get to really experience the game at an elite level for our younger players, to really get them to absorb what it means to be a real true football fan, soccer fan. And
I've got the dates up for that one right now, Marty. That's August 8th to August 17th. So, Marty's spot on there. The reason we do it there is, one, you would spend the whole week getting, used to the time zone, getting used to the culture. And then right before you get ready to come back to the US, you get to experience a Premier League game, because that's the weekend that the season starts. So, that's a great trip for the 2012-2013 boys and girls. Opportunity there for Aaron. Have you ever been to the lovely country of England?
So I have a little story about that. I was trying to go to Norway, and it was during I think it was 21. So I got stopped at the Norwegian border because I didn't have the European COVID passport yet. I needed the QR code. So I had to fly back to London, spend a couple days in London, then take a train to Paris, go to a pharmacy, and I converted my COVID passport, got the QR code, trained from Paris back to London, London to Norway. So yes, I've been to London for.
There you go. So the reason I say that is that they're your age groups, right? So you could be right in there with the 2013s. Well, what a great way for you to spend some more time with those groups, because you spent a lot of time with them on the field. That's what I really enjoyed about my team that I took there. It was like a 2006 mixture, and the guys that I'd coached pretty much my whole time at the club before then. So I do think that would be a fun experience. And you get to have the vote on the big question: what's nicer, the south of England or the north? And you just got to depend on who you're talking to, right? Because Leon has a different opinion to me. So
yeah, I won't comment on that right now.
I refer to it as Game of Thrones. That's the way I refer to it. The
King of
north.
the North.
But yeah, so yeah, we have that one August 8th to the 17th in England.
Yeah, you make a good point there, Tom. It's a real good extra opportunity for the coach to kind of build relationships with players and parents and families. It's a little different from just being on the field. You're with families basically 24/7 for 12, 13 days. And they're in your care, like you're the logistics manager. You kind of, you get the kids up and you get them to the places they need to be. You get the parents to the restaurants and the bars they want to go to and all that good stuff. So it's a great social experiment for parents and coaches for sure. And yeah, then if we go in age order, our 2010s and 2011s we'll have the opportunity to attend the Madrid Cup, it's called the Mad Cup in Madrid, Spain. That's June 19th to 27th, I think.
Correct.
And that's a pretty elite tournament as well, so you're playing against like a real kind of like mixture of Spanish teams and European teams, but you could end up playing like Valencia or Atletico Madrid, or you could be playing like a local Spanish team from a town. So there's a real kind of like golf and ability and kind of opposition, and the teams tend to play at least one or two games against really elite opposition, and that's our coincides with the back end of our love to learn phase, where you're experiencing a different culture of competition. Right before we get into our love to compete, it's like, right, you know what, we're exposing you to Spanish soccer, French soccer, Portuguese soccer, English soccer. Some African teams play there, and it's right, can you learn on the fly? And we pitch you against these teams. That's open to our 2010-2011 group, boys and girls. And the ideal situation, of course, would be to have a group go from each age group, and 2010 and 2011 boys, for example. But we will take a group that's like a mixture with 2010s and 2011s. This one is one that has never run before, even though we've tried it, but we've tried it probably without pushing it as well as we should have, getting coach engagement and parent engagement. But it's certainly a trip that people are interested in, and people have registered for already. And one that's really appealing, right? Like the last 2 weeks of June, spending your time in Madrid isn't the worst place to be.
Yeah, I just read the itinerary on that. It sounds unbelievable. Tour of the Bernabeu, obviously being in Madrid itself, and then sessions with a Real Madrid coach and a Atletico Madrid coach.
Yeah,
that's a very unique experience if you can pull it off. And for me, that's another great one for Quinny to potentially get. He's been with those 2010s now the last 2 or 3 years. That'd be a great way for him to kind of have his not last thing with them, but before they age into the high school things. And obviously Quinny stays in his kind of pre high school role. I think that would be a great opportunity. And also another coach who coaches 2010 age group, Aaron, you could have a very fun summer here, right?
Yeah,
potentially I could. And if anybody is questioning if this is a good experience, I'll give you my perspective from a player. I went on several different tours, and I've coached on a tour with a different club and with a different company. But as a player, you get invaluable experience, and you play against such quality opponents and quality coaches, and it's an unbelievable experience. The players you're around, become better, more than just friends, because you've shared this global experience, and you've competed against some quality sides. And I'm sure that players that I've played against in those tours are now playing at a higher level now. So, as a player, as somebody who's done it in the past, when I was, I believe, 12 and 13, it's something that I look back on to this day and say, I'm so grateful that I did that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what actually started my journey on how I got to the US. I was that coach where the teams would come into Bolton. I always talk about Bolton when they were a good team. We were in the Premier League. That was my job. I would give them a tour of the stadium, and then I would take them to the training ground and coach them. And then I ended up having a conversation with a team from, I think they were from Florida. I think I'm still friends with the lady on Facebook. And she was like, you can just come to the US and do this. And then that started the conversations with like, how do I find a way to do this as my job in the US? And then, yeah, about 6 months later, I was over here coaching for Challenger Sports, and then started working at Everton and now Inter, and never turned back. So yeah, no, from somebody who's been on the other end of it, like coaching, I coach a group from Africa, a group from Australia. I think actually a group, I'm going to say Scandinavia, because I couldn't remember whether they were Norwegian or one of those other handful of countries in that corner. But yeah, I agree. It's a great experience, and one that I personally want to get myself on down the line, just because of how much I've heard Marty talk about how good it was, and also behind the badge footage that we did last year from it. The Foil Cup. I do like the format of that. I do like how Marty Walker is like the main person, knows everybody in the town, knows all about it. And obviously you get that very much hands-on experience from him. So yeah, I think that's a one where a lot of credit has to go to Marty, because that has ran pretty much every year other than when the world ended, right, Marty? You pretty much pulled that one off every year. So
yeah, without fail, it's always been a 2-team tournament. We'll have 2 teams go to the Foil Cup every year. It's crazy the amount of people that actually return the second year. So like, the expectation is that the U15s and U16s will go, and if needs be, we'll blend them. We've never needed to do it.
yeah.
We've always typically, if we've had 14 or 13 register, we've always had a few local kids join the group and participate on the team, which is a really great experience for our players too, and they create good relationships. But yeah, it's funny because once people go on the trip, they have an appetite for more,
Yeah, and there's still a little bit of sightseeing in there as well, right? For the Foil Cup, it's not just your soccer all the time in the tournament. You get to see a little bit, right?
Yeah, sometimes too much. The coaches would be just wrecked at the end of the week because we typically do. I'm relatively cheeky in how I set it up, because every year we'll spend 2 or 3 days in a location in Ireland before we head to Derry. So we'll go to Donegal, or we'll go to we did Galway this year. In the past, we've done Belfast, so it's basically me trying to get a couple of days in different cities in Ireland before we head to Derry for the 10 days or 9 days for the tournament. But yeah, everything from the Cliffs of Moher, the Giants Causeway, for the Foil Cup, which is for this year for the 2009s and 2008s. Every trip has a cultural experience as well as a soccer experience. I think that's, yeah, we do see teams that go across the world and are very militant in how they kind of approach it, and stay in the dorms, and you can't go out and you can't do this and you can't do that. It's like, and parents come and just come to the games. It's like, what, if we're going to travel to Europe, we may as well enjoy every aspect of it, from a soccer perspective, the cultural perspective, right, and a social perspective. People really enjoy just connecting with locals wherever we've gone. So it's whether it is England in August, like we've done in the past for the European Championships, whether it is Madrid, where we haven't gone yet, but we hope to go next year, whether it is the Foil Cup, which is our love to compete, putting them in the competitive environment, and you sink or swim. And some years we do great. Like last year was our best year in terms of results. Some years we don't do so well. But it's a competitive place where we're up against good teams. But the experience still remains really, really high. Everybody loves it, from top to bottom, from every aspect. And I think it's important that, when you come to Derry for the Foil Cup, for me, it's important for me to share the culture and share the hidden secrets of the town. And then, we progress from the love the game, love to learn, love to compete, and then we've introduced Malawi, which is like an unbelievable experience. We were very fortunate to experience it, myself and Leon, for the first time this year.
Marty, Malawi being in Africa, right?
Southeast Africa, borders Zimbabwe, Mozambique, so pretty far south on the southeast of Africa. Came about because we have a really great family in the club. The Murphys, the older brother Aidan played for me, 2002 birth year, I believe. The younger brother Gavin plays for us. He's a 2008 birth year. Tom, the father, took his older son to Malawi several years ago through Wowza Soccer, which was a tour company based out of, I think, Washington State. He's told me the story many times, and hopefully I'm doing the story credit. But was able to go to meet a club or an academy over there called Ascent Soccer Academy. And in 2018, sat down with him and he connected us and talked to me about the story of Ascent Soccer and what they do, and the goal to send kids and give kids otherworldly experiences than that they have in Malawi, right? Get them out to the USA, get them into high schools, get them into colleges, get them into host families, and really kind of give them an opportunity that just doesn't exist. So Ascent Soccer does a really good job of creating platforms for kids from Malawi to succeed in the world, basically. Leon and I visited this past summer, visited their academy, and it's an academy from where they pull kids from all over the country. So you could be an 11-year-old kid from northwest Malawi, and in the long way where the academy is, it could be a 9-10 hour drive from your house. The parents will send their kids there because the standard of education is amazing and the opportunity that exists for the kids is amazing. The Murphys were a host family for a player who came over here and went to Taft. So it was a residential school and spent the summer and winter vacations and seasonal vacations with the Murphys and became basically part of their family. That inspired us to look into kind of creating a strong link between us and Ascent Soccer Academy. And then we were supposed to go in 2020 and we're planning it in 2019, given the logistical kind of challenges that it presents, right? It's all the way across the world, basically. There's visas and immunizations that you have to consider and all that good stuff. So it takes a while to get sorted. And COVID lasted longer there. Like they were still having COVID issues after we were kind of coming out of our lockdowns and all that good stuff. So what happened in 2019 ended up becoming a trip in 2023. So 4 years later, we ended up getting there. And talk about an experience. It's like it coincides and instigated like the final phase of kind of what we're doing from a philosophical standpoint, like the love to give back. Day one, the kids had traveled with us, and we had one parent travel with us. We ended up at a school where you're sitting in a classroom and there's 2 teachers and 121 kids.
Wow. And
all the kids are very attentive and the teacher's teaching them English, and it's like we're in the background kind of mind blown, right? And you get to experience stuff like that. And you get to experience the academy itself where they bring kids from all over the country. And we've seen it like a recruitment day where they have tournaments in towns and they're selecting the best players. And then you're on safari and it's like you're seeing elephants in water, and then you're seeing flipping lions eating gazelles and stuff. It's like just an unparalleled experience, something you could only dream about.
So football and a National Geographic experience there.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like, it's a combination of the love of the game plus the love of travel plus just like your mind blown. So what comes of it is several things. We want to, for example, the Super Cup next year. There's 2 kids from the 2008 group from Ascent Soccer Academy that are playing at Milton and Brooks Academy in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and fundraise for them to come with us to the Super Cup as part of our group for the 2008s.
Wow.
Which puts them on a different planet in terms of exposure, and they're very good players, and we know their quality, and we know they'll add a lot of depth. They kind of the squad that we're taking. We're looking ultimately to see how we can get more host families and more kind of collaboration with families in the club to kind of maybe host a kid during vacations whenever they're at Taft or they're at Brooks or they're at any school in the Northeast, just to kind of build and strengthen the relationship between the 2 clubs. You have a question? Go ahead.
No, no, I was just
Oh,
gonna say,
sorry.
I mean, that's a great connection, and it sounds like a great program, I mean, someone who's coming from Africa and wants to, experience soccer in a different country, or, has that capability to play at a high level. They have that opportunity, which is just amazing. And the fact that you and Leon have worked on this for so long, and it's now finally come to fruition, and everybody's kind of realizing the importance of the impact that we have over there, but also, I mean, we have the opportunity because soccer is such a global sport. I mean, you don't do this with American football. You don't do this with, field hockey or whatever it is. This soccer is something that's all over the world. And it's one of the reasons why I love this game so much is that we can have a conversation. It doesn't matter what language we speak, but we have a conversation with the ball. And globally, it's something that everybody recognizes and everybody partakes in. So, the fact that we can do these tours and give these experiences to the families that enter Connecticut, and now you're taking people to the Super Cup, just anybody that has the ability to, and the opportunity is amazing. So I just wanted to throw that in there, and
No, you're
realize
right.
that we're running a little over now, but
It's an easy topic of conversation to discuss for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I have a few bullet points just to throw at Marty before we kind of wrap this one up. Marty, can you share a little bit of information regarding the company that we use to provide the tours? Because I know they do work hand in hand with you. That's not always. A lot of people think we're controlling the tours. We're usually
No, we couldn't.
the people set it, and then we just
Yeah.
refer to them. So if you could just share some information with who we're using
Yeah.
there.
Cara Group Travel are based in Quincy, Massachusetts. Sarah and the team are amazing. They've been in terms of organization, in terms of the personnel that they give us on the ground, in terms of like the structuring of the trips, first class. They're historically have been like an Ireland kind of travel company. Beyond Ireland, when we go to Madrid or we go where else, they work with Gold Tours. That's based out of Barcelona. And there's a guy Jaime there that does the soccer kind of organization of stuff on the land in Europe. So, we actually work directly with Cara, but indirectly with Gold Sports as tours. So it's we have a really good, organized, educated, and quality kind of travel group that we just pass everything on to because we couldn't do it. The logistics are just so crazy.
Yeah.
So
I've been on those FaceTimes before with Carla, and she knows the stuff. She knows every single thing. So, usually your coaches are quite dialed in with all the information you would need. But again, if you're really serious about joining us on one of these tours, that's where we'll start kind of pushing you to that. You don't actually register with Inter Connecticut on our website. It's all done by the travel group, and that they can help you with that. Marty, a question that I got when I ran a tour before was, do parents need to attend? Do parents not need to attend? I guess it can kind of be depending on age group, right? I know when I took my group, which were like U10, U11, it's a lot more beneficial if there is a parent there, but it's not mandatory, right, on when you get to the Ireland and the Foil Cup tours.
Yeah, it depends. Like we typically kind of take multiple coaches anyway, right? With the younger groups, it's definitely encouraged for sure. Like, can a parent attend with a kid? If a parent can't attend with a kid, can they send their child with someone who they trust, a neighbor, somebody in the club who they're very close in relationship with, who can, quote unquote, accept responsibility for their child, knowing that if we do travel, you have to get right to travel forms if parents aren't traveling with them, and so on and so forth. As they get older, and kids assume more responsibility, parents tend to travel just to experience the culture, just to see Madrid or to see Ireland or to see Africa. So there's always an appetite for parents to travel, and we end up with more parents than you would expect, funnily enough. It's but I think the short answer is we encourage parents to travel everywhere, but if they can't travel for whatever reason, we'll work with them to kind of make sure that the kids are well looked after.
Yeah, I remember when I took my group, I had a family. The dad worked in finance in the city, and then he was just like, "Yeah, I'm going to come. I'm just going to work in our London office for the week." And I was like, "Yeah, that's That's just it's not something that's in my world, but that's a great.
And we've had parents join late, like halfway through the trip. Listen, they can't
Yeah.
make it the whole trip, but they'll come on the Wednesday and see the last 3 or 4 games, or they'll come early and have to leave, you know. So that helps as well
flexible.
for sure.
Numbers. Is there a set number that we have to hit for a tour to go ahead? Can they go at smaller numbers? Does that happen then? Because I know usually what happens is we get a little bit of interest out of the gate, and then we're still kind of trying to chase people down afterwards.
Yeah, great question. For the 2012-13, you know, we don't have to take a team per se, right? But the more the merrier, because it means it's a unit, like an inter-unit that trains and practices and scrimmages on land. Whenever we're taking teams to Madrid or the Foil Cup, we like to get a group of 18 players because it's 11v11, and whether we get 2 groups of 18 players like the Foil Cup, like one age group specific team, like 2008s, 2009s, or no, there's not that much interest for one reason or another, we'll blend the team, a 2008 and 2009 team. An example would be some of the years where we would go to the Foil Cup. Like last year, for example, we had a 2007, 2008 team, but some 2006s wanted to go. And the Foil Cups allows us to put them on our 2007 team. So we compete at the U15 or 16 level, even if there are a couple of older kids. So the short answer, we want the squad, whatever the squad looks like. For some tournaments, you know, it's just dependent on who wants to go. It could be age specific or a mixture of 2 ages. For the Super Cup, like we're holding tryouts for that, so we're going to pick a squad from that because there's going to be good interest because of the elite level of competition. And then for Malawi, it's a group of 18. And I think that's kind of what they can manage with their hosting capabilities. Is 18 is what they want for it. So whether that's 18 players,
18 including parents,
they would love 18 players.
Okay.
If parents go beyond that, then they can try and accommodate it. But if it's 18, it's 18. They figure it out one way or another.
Perfect.
As long as the parents don't mind a mouse or a spider.
And then last, what's the next steps after this? This is over. Is there an email coming out? Are we going to host a kind of calls regarding the thing? Are we going to share the information via the coaches, just so parents know where they're going to get the links for? I know Anthony's been sharing it with his teams via his weekly updates, but obviously we got to do a good job now of getting, because we know the information's on our website, but obviously not everybody knows that. Yeah,
the next step is like an email will go out from coaches to their teams, right? So Aaron will send out an email that's prepared for his teams. Quinny will send out an email prepared for his teams. In the past, I've just blasted everybody. And it falls on deaf ears sometimes. So I wanted to be more relevant and more specific. Following the emails, we'll set up a trip Zoom. So like the 2012-13s, we'll set it up for them to have questions and talk about what England might look like. 11s and 10s, what Spain might look like, 9s and 8s, what the Foil Cup might look like, and the older kids, 7s and 6s, what Malawi may look like, and then we'll have a separate one for the Super Cup. So it'll be, get this podcast out, follow up with an email with links to registration, follow that up with webinars, or Zoom calls with people who want to have questions and stuff.
But if parents listen to this podcast and say, "Oh, I want information now," this information is on our website, correct?
It's on tours, and that tours link will direct you to Cara Group Travel's landing page, basically, which has everything segmented. So you can, if you click on our international tours, it'll open up a page from Cara Group Travel, and on that page, it'll basically itemize each trip.
Great.
Yeah, that's where I was reading all the information from. So you're on our website, then you go to more, and then it drops down to international tours, and then you just click on that image, and that brings up every single one of the tours for you to have. And this is also, we do a lot talk on this podcast, and just out of habit, we refer to Norwalk a lot, but this is open to all of Inter-Connecticut, Union, Litchfield. It's open to everybody. So, you are listening to this, and you might not fully know who me and Aaron are because you're a Union kid or you're a Litchfield kid. These tours are still open to you if you fall inside those age groups also.
Yeah, we typically do take kids from other clubs as well. If on years where like the roster might be like light, we'll have 12 inter kids, and somebody will say, "I've got a friend that plays for such and such a club, and they'd like to join." We had a kid from California join us last year and stuff. So it's it's not closed, certainly, but priority always goes to our players across the three branches.
That's
perfect. That's
awesome.
that was all my questions and points that I wanted to ask. So.
All good ones. All good ones.
Yeah, I answered all of my questions, and you know what? I think I might sign up for all the tours.
You keep it going on, please.
I'm trying to figure out who's going to be my. You coached every single one of my camps last year. I'm trying to figure out who's doing that this year. Now, if you're halfway around the world every week,
don't call my number. I'm going to be on Wi-Fi only over in Ireland.
WhatsApp.
That's it. Well, we really appreciate having you on, Marty, and I know you're a hot commodity these days, and people are trying to pull you in a bunch of different directions. So I appreciate you taking your time out of a Tuesday evening to come and talk to us about this. But there's a lot of really great information, and I'm really excited to see who's going to be going and what these tours actually look like now. So it's fantastic that you've been running them for so long, and now we get to experience. Hopefully I get to go on to a couple of tours with my 2013s, and maybe I get invited to that Foil Cup, maybe.
That one's the hardest one to get on. I've been trying to get in that Foil Cup for 8 years, and I've still not made the roster yet.
Pedro and Harry have gone twice in a row.
Yeah, what if Pedro and Harry are sick for that week?
They can't go a third time. We got to kick them out. We got to get new blood.
But anyway, thank you, Marty. And if we have any more questions, we can always answer this on here. You can always contact either one of us. And the information is on the website. So we'll get those emails out as soon as possible. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, just feel free to contact either of us. So thanks again, Marty. I know we got to let you go now, but
thanks, guys.
Appreciate having you on. Hopefully we get you on again.
All right, peace. Stay safe.
Thanks, Marty. Bye. This has been another interview podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have any questions about anything we spoke about during this podcast, feel free to contact me, Tom, or Marty concerning the summer international tours. The winter schedule should all be on Sports Engine now. Please let us know if you have any conflicts or questions, and your coach will try to accommodate in the best way possible, whether that be, try to fit your son or daughter into another session with another team. But all of that stuff is on Sports Engine, so we try to accommodate as best as we possibly can. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and good luck this weekend. All right, bye.
Thanks for listening to the Interview Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Facebook and Instagram, and check out our website, www.interctfc.com.